Hello fellas. Welcome back to Top 5 Choices. This is Haley from Top 5 Choices, and I hope you all are doing good. In today's video, I am going to do a detailed review and pick the top 5 best Avenue receivers under $2,000, 2022. After doing proper researches, we came to the conclusion that meets the best in terms of overall. Kindly leave a like if you find this helpful, and I'd appreciate if you subscribe to my channel and turn on post notifications if you haven't. We will be also providing affiliates link to purchase from Amazon. Kindly use it for best offers and purchase from anywhere in the world. We'll be back with more videos. There are a couple of compromises. First, you'd need to stick with speakers of at least 6 ohms nominal impedance in order to protect your warranty. 4 ohm speakers are not supported. Second, all but the front left and right channels use spring clip connections, not binding posts. They accept cable up to about 1.5 millimeters thick, but we think this is a step too far in economy. There are 4 HDMI inputs, all supporting all the good stuff you'd expect. According to the specs, Sony rarely skimps on specifications. They support up to 4K and UHD at up to 60 Hz, HDR10, hybrid log gamma and Dolby Vision, 3D, deep color, the budgetable 2020 color space, and the all-important HDCP 2.2 copy protection system. There's a single HDMI output. There are no analog video connections of any kind, but 4 stereo analog audio inputs, as well as 1 coaxial and 1 optical digital audio. So not a generous collection, but enough to cover the requirements of most systems, and more than enough for most entry and middling systems. There's also a proper 6.35mm headphone socket on the left of the front panel. Not included with this receiver are some things that those used to higher cost gear might expect. There is no support for a second zone. There is no support for media from USB, however, there is a 5V/1A power supply in the form of a USB socket, so you can power a phone or iPod plugged in via an analog input, and notably, there is no support for networking at all, either Wi-Fi or Ethernet. However, there is Bluetooth, which may be far more important for those seeking a receiver at this price point. It supports the AAC codec, so most Apple device users should get the best Bluetooth sound possible. Much of the music was from an Audio-Technica at LP120XBT USB turntable. And, no, we didn't use the Bluetooth connectivity on this turntable, although we suppose we could have. We switched off the turntable's internal preamp and used the Marantz receiver's phono inputs, and, of course, we chose the pure direct sound mode for this listening. So let's cover that first. In short, the results were impressive. We pulled out an ancient pressing of Emerson, Lake and Palmer's pictures at an exhibition. Palmer's drumming was delivered with a slightly slack-skinned reality that almost had us there. Bass was strong and controlled. Remember, since we were in pure direct mode, the subwoofer was not being used at all, nor was any EQ being applied. There was even just a touch of rumble reproduced, and not from the turntable. It seems to have been impressed into the recording. Network music was delivered with impressive clarity, whether streamed using the receiver's title functionality, or using the HEOS app to send music from our NAS drive. Lately we've been taken with something even older than ELP, Nina Simone's inaugural LP from the late 1950s, Little Girl Blue. In remastered stereo form streamed from Tidal, it was as though a portal had been opened up between our Australian office and a recording studio in 1959 America. We normally use an AV receiver which easily runs to more than 100 watts per channel, but we'd be hard put to say that the Marantz NR1711 was in any way inferior with movie audio. Design-wise, this AVC is unapologetically brutalist, with its sharp lines and squared-off corners, but we can live with that. It tips the scales at 12.7 kilograms, and build quality is reassuringly substantial. Available in either black or silver, the chassis is a dual-layer design, a key difference from the cheaper AVC-3700H. In time-honored fashion, 2 rotary dials flank the display, and there's a pull-down fascia flap hiding HDMI and USB access. The X4700H generously offers 8 HDMI inputs, one of which is 8K capable, with 3 HDMI outputs. That means you could manage a projector and screen in one room, and still have the option to feed video to a second room. There's support for Dolby Vision, HDR10+, HDR10 and HLG alongside 4:4:4 pure color subsampling and budgetable 2020 pass-through. There's also eARC, Enhanced Audio Return Channel, a phono input for vinyl enthusiasts, 2-component video inputs, a selection of analog audio and video connections, plus 2 independent subwoofer outputs. The feature set of the ABC X4700H is forward-facing. We know that because there's an HDMI input explicitly labeled 8K, complete with corresponding input on the remote control. Of course, the true value of this lone fat HDMI pipe is that it's also able to handle 4K at 120 FPS, which is the optimum video output of the Sony PS5 and Xbox Series X. Admittedly, there's precious few 4K/120 FPS titles available, or screens that can support it, but that will change unfortunately. Next-gen consoles can present a blank screen when connected to this input to play. To get the best sound for your room's acoustics, plug in the setup mic and run the auto-calibration process. Sony's improved TAC-EX calibration takes note of your exact speaker package configuration before emitting swift and musical test tones. You can delve into the manual settings to fine-tune the results, though we are happy with the Sony's largely accurate measurements of our test room. The DN1080's interface is well designed and nice to use. Helpful menus guide you through the setup process, as well as the new Phantom Surround back and speaker relocation features. The first option adds in virtual surround rear speakers if you only have a 5.1 package, and the second one corrects the positioning of your speakers if your room won't allow for best place speaker placement. How effective this is depends on your room, but the sound does shift convincingly when used in our listening rooms. Make sure you select Auto Format Decoding, AFD, in the sound effects menu to fully play DTS, X and Dolby Atmos soundtracks. Pure Direct, which cuts out all digital interferences, is worth enabling when you're listening to purely analog sources. The SDR-DN1080 is a substantial, hefty, and well-built black box. The front panel features a handful of shortcut buttons, volume and input dials that work smoothly, and a simplified display that you can read at a glance. It's a fuss-free, easy-to-use amp. All the interesting stuff happens under the hood. Sony has used high-quality components and advanced technology derived from its premium custom-install ES range of receivers in designing the SDR-DN1080. Not only can it play Dolby Atmos soundtracks up to a 5.1.2 speaker configuration, it also supports the newer DTS-X format. Of course, given the Sony's age, HDMI 2.1 is not supported, but all 6 HDMI inputs on the back are HDCP 2.2 compliant, supporting full playback of 4K HDR content. It's worth noting the Video 1 input is the only one not to support the full 4:4:4 chroma subsampling spec. All other HDMI inputs do. There are 2 HDMI outputs, a handful of legacy inputs, single optical and coaxial inputs, and a USB port that can charge your smartphone. You do get a few more connections on the newer Denon AVR X2600H. 8 HDMI inputs, for starters, and a couple more inputs across the board, but the Sony is hardly lacking in the connectivity area, and there are plenty of sockets to plug in your sources. There may be just the one HDMI 2.1 certified input, but the other 5 have not been ignored. They're each compatible with the variable refresh rate, VRR, quick frame transport, QFT, and auto low latency mode, ALLM, lag minimizing technologies to fit with the demands of next generation content. They can also cope with the full suite of HDR standards, with HDR10+, HDR10, HLG and Dolby Vision all represented. Both of the HDMI outputs are also 2.1 certified, so those lucky enough to have a TV and projector in their system will be able to send 8K at 60 Hz and 4K at 120 Hz out to them both. eARC, Enhanced Audio Return Channel, is supported as well. The AVR X2700H isn't quite as flush for 3D audio formats as the upper-end models, but the big hitters of Dolby Atmos, Atmos Height Virtualization, DTS, X and DTS Virtual, X are all present and correct. Those looking to decode IMAX Enhanced and Auro 3D soundtracks will need to make the step up to the Denon AVR X3700H or beyond. Voice control through Alexa, Google Assistant and Siri-enabled devices remains, as well as all the wireless standards for music found in the previous model, including AirPlay 2, HEOS, Spotify and Tidal. One nice new addition on this front is that all of Denon's 2020X series AVRs are now room-tested devices, meaning that you can have room music playback through your speaker package as well. The Bluetooth offering has also been revamped this year, such that AVR X2700H can direct audio to a set of wireless headphones at the same time as your speakers, handy for any hearing-impaired family member or if you want to nip out for a cup of tea without missing a moment.